Good morning and welcome to Frank's School. 7th year, 33rd day, first video. This is the making of this imaginary movie I have called Resurrection. And now I'm dealing with the characters. The characters for Resurrection. I have discussed Marion, checked him off. Bryn, that was yesterday, checked her off. And now I'm going to move on to Festus. But a few comments about what I've done already. Let me start with the floor. Marion's timbre is a drum. At least that's the way I have it now. I think I'll stick with that. I'm not sure. But I had mentioned at one point, you know, one of the troubles if I play the part of Marion is I'm not really a drummer. I mean, I can drum a little bit with my hands, but no big deal. But my neighbor, I'd mentioned him, Jack. Boy, can he drum. His music just sort of comes out of him. He's the guy that was so whimsical about it. And I have Floor here because I want to mention it. One time he was over here and we were making music with the guitars and stuff. And he realized that there was a squeak in the floor, kitchen floor. And he actually played the floor by moving his body such and such. He was able to play that squeak. Anyone that was there remembers. It was funny, but anyway. All right, let's see. Bryn, recorder, either alto or tenor recorder. Now, costuming, you know, it ought to be very easy. It really shouldn't matter what the people wear. Well, it does matter, of course, in the movie, but that could be very eclectic at the beginning. As a matter of fact, as the movie went on, they could gradually become dressed more similarly, and that would be explained by getting a bolt of muslin or something like that, and one of the characters gradually making work smocks and white or something. That's probably what I think I would suggest, that they gradually end up in a sort of a uniform of simplicity. I don't know. Makeup, they shouldn't, I mean, the women really shouldn't have any makeup. I mean, and like the hairstyling and stuff like that, you know, their hair should be natural. I mean, long, straight. No bleached teeth, no, you know, none of that stuff. I would hope that would work. I just think those could be kind of ignored. I mean, you don't want people to look sickly, I guess. But all right, now another thing here. I wanted to mention this. Shirley, my German friend, her response to the draft of the overture. I roughed out an overture with the still images, and I put music to it. Kriegslagen Todesbanden. And she said, change the music. You know, and I don't think I will change the music. Sorry, Shirley. But I think it's because it was so effective. You know, it was like that on me, too. I mean, the first time I did it, I thought, I just slit my wrist. It was so dreary. I mean, those images and that music. And, you know, and I think Shirley's pretty influenced by what she hears. And I also suspect that she was looking at it as an entire work, the overture. It's just the overture. And it has to set that mood of desertion and death and destruction and abandonment and stuff. And it certainly seems to. She also made the comment that Baroque music, she said, not everybody likes Baroque music. And I know she particularly doesn't like Baroque music too much. But my response to that is, well, this movie is about changing the world. I mean, it's a new attitude, and for a lot of young people, I think they could rediscover Baroque music to their great satisfaction because it is a wealth. And I thought about that. I think there's a movie Platoon. I've never seen it, and I think I guess it's a Baroque. Well, it's not a Baroque piece, but a classical piece. I think it's Adagio for strings that's used at one point in the middle of a battle or something. I don't know. I mean, it's not unprecedented. A whiter shade of pale, I think I've got the name to that right. There was a popular song in the early 70s, or around 1970, I think, that people loved that song. Shirley herself loved that song. Her husband performed it, or still performs it probably if he wants to on stage. It's based on, it's a Bach tune. It's from Suite Number 3 or something like that. I should have written it down. But anyway, basically what the public was responding to was a Baroque piece of music. When I was a kid, again this is probably in the 1960s, I'm quite sure that part of Rachmaninoff's Concerto No. 2 was put into a popular form that was played all the time in the radio. I couldn't find it. I didn't try too hard to find it. But to me, I recognized it for what it was. But, most people didn't. They put a drum to it, and it's just beautiful music. It works. And weddings. People very often turn to Baroque music with great satisfaction when it comes to weddings. So, the whole idea of this movie, it could the soundtrack could be done. There could be an original one. I suppose there could be a rock and roll version of it. I don't know, why not? Jesus Christ Superstar was a rock opera. All right, now Festus. Festus. He's based on Hephaestus or Hephaestus. That's what the Greeks called him. The Romans called him Vulcan. He is the blacksmith of the gods. Or the armorer. If Mars is, well. Anyway, to me, he's the craftsman. And in a way, you might say, well, wait a minute. Marion's the craftsman, isn't he? Ilmarinen from the Finnish epic. Well, yes. There's an overlapping here. But they're very different characters. With Festus, it's real specifically metal and fire. He's a mechanic as well, in sort of in the modern world. He's crippled. In the Greek myth, he was thrown off Mount Olympus for, I don't know, I think Zeus was his father. I don't know, he was ugly or something like that. And as a result, he was crippled. Festus would be crippled. He would limp. His arms would be okay, but he would limp. Fire is associated with him. He'll be at the forge. And I thought about Wagner and his sword leitmotif. I think of it as his fire leitmotif. I studied them a little bit, and I don't know to what extent they would fit in to what I'm doing. But that concept of a leitmotif, that the various characters have their leitmotifs, I'm absolutely pulling that from Wagner. In this movie, Festus would be very big, very strong. A black man. Wouldn't have to be. But in my mind, I think that would be best. But he's sad. Inconsolably sad. That's part of his character. And he's angry. Now, I can pick up the sad with music. I have not yet figured out how I could also introduce sort of anger. And you don't know why. It's one of the things that drives the plot. He's scary. Being that big and that strong, sad and angry, especially the angry, he is scary. Now, he's influenced by Aphrodite. What I mean by that is I'm thinking that his lust after, there's going to be two beautiful women there. Bryn is not the only one. There's another one coming. And he will lust for them. But I don't know, not dangerously so, but it kind of just adds to his sadness and his anger. His timbre is a bassoon, which might seem really strange. It wouldn't have to be like a modern bassoon. It could be something bassoon-like. But the thing about a bassoon is it's got this unbelievable range from very high to very low. And as the music is put together, the low tones especially would be needed for the four-part harmony, which would be the basis of everything. Now, for his theme, his musical theme, I don't know how to say, I don't speak Italian, but Lascia Ch'io Pianga, I don't know. It's an aria from Handel, not Bach. Now this is Handel, George Frederick Handel. It's from an opera, Rinaldo, and that translates to Let Me Weep. It's just about the saddest tune that I know of. I don't want to say in all the music I know, but in Baroque music, it is very sad sounding. And I will give you a link for that. Now, if you just went and found that, it might be disturbing to you because you're going to find it probably sung by by a very, very high, a countertenor, you would call it. Back in Handel's day, men were castrated to preserve their boy's voice. They were called castrati. And, you'd do better if you hear it sung, to hear it sung by an alto, a woman alto. Actually, I shouldn't even say a countertenor. It would be a male alto is what you'd probably hear it from. But I'm going to offer you a link where it's being played by a cello and a piano. being played very simply. I was tickled to find that. And the orchestration, see, that would be simple. One of the characters' timbre is going to be a folk guitar, just a guitar that basically just chords. And that's all you hear is chords from the piano, and basically, and a cello. All right, and then finally the casting, Alexander. I could give you his last name. He's the only one that I personally know that would really fit this. I've only met him, I think, one time. He came to the farm with some other people, and when I met him and saw the presence that he had, I asked him almost immediately. I said, well, would you consider taking a part in a movie I make? And he said, yeah, sure. And he probably would. All right, now we've got a third character. Bye, friends.